4 reasons why the Vols won't lose to Arkansas. Okay. And there won't be an upset. Now, I'm not going to go all existential and say culture, but I don't think Tennessee's going to have a down game partly because of that. But I'm going to go more with X's and O's. Update us on the poll question, if you don't mind, Caleb.
Do you expect Tennessee players to go to class?
Yes.
No, football first says 22%. And yes, there's student athletes says 78%.
That's the majority of our audience, and you're making fun of them. Shame on you.
I'm sorry, guys. They should, as a general rule, class should be canceled during football season.
Oh my gosh. All right.
Also, you know, I mean, you want to know the biggest red flag possible when you're looking to join a church, guys?
Tom Cruise is involved?
Well, that's one of them. It goes a little bit too late on Sunday and makes you almost miss NFL kickoff. As a general rule, churches should not interfere with football, guys. That's just rule number 1.
Okay. Caleb's joking. Now let's go ahead and get to 4 reasons.
Am I? Are you sure about that, Dave? You really think I'm joking?
I will say one of the best lines ever was in a movie that I'd never seen with Kevin Costner in it. It's about the draft or something. No. It was the concussion movie. It was the concussion movie. And I remember one of the guys saying, you're trying to go against somebody that took Sunday away from God. And I was like, whoa, that's kind of deep when you think about it. All right. 4 reasons why Tennessee will not lose to Arkansas and be upset in Fayetteville, which is absolutely an awful city. And you have to pay for things in pies and hogs. All right.
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
All right. Tennessee's defense. Now, that's a broad thing that I'm throwing out there, but Ryan Brown brought this up of the next round when we had a poll of whether or not Tennessee is truly a national championship contender. And he said, and you've referenced it too, defenses tend to travel. So if this was an elite offense right now and an okay defense, well, we've seen that movie. That was 2022. Tennessee did not travel to South Carolina. There are a myriad of reasons why. I don't want to get into that, but I think typically given road environments, given all that a quarterback and a redshirt freshman will have to face, and I think he's fine, but a defense tends to travel more consistently than an offense. Caleb, what do you think of that?
Totally agree. That's why Tennessee at Oklahoma exercised a major demon that they've had under Josh Heupel, which is the Josh Heupel road wars. Those things weren't flukes, guys. Josh Heupel had issues on the road, and I think it's because he didn't have a defense to travel, and offense doesn't travel as well.
Yep. All right.
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
All right, Coop, what down?
Cooper Mays here. Second down.
Thanks, Coop. All right, I want to zone in specifically on Tennessee's defensive line. Sorry if I seem redundant, but there's a difference. The Vols defensive line can win the game for Tennessee, but it can also lose it. If Tennessee isn't disciplined in the running game, Arkansas quarterback Taylor Green, who's the 6th leading rusher in the SEC, the rest of them are running backs. He's the top rusher at quarterback, could make it a long day for Tennessee. However, here's the caveat. If you haven't done the right thing during practice, or you go out there and blow assignments, Caleb, they don't have to stick with you. They can put somebody else in there. So the depth not only helps Tennessee stay fresh, but if somebody's having a bad game, pull him. I don't care who it is. Every one of these players, including James Pierce, are replaceable for a game.
One of the things you told me a couple years ago, and this was part of why Tennessee lost to South Carolina, and I never thought about it until that day, was that you said sometimes just the inner workings and distractions of a Saturday, particularly for a night game, can limit defensive linemen's ability to play with their hair on fire. They just don't have that extra step. And because you always, to be a great defensive line, you always have to play with your hair on fire. I guess you always have to play wanting to like blow up the world, or not really, but like, you know, wanting to wreak havoc, right? Wanting to cause chaos. And it's hard to mentally get yourself there. Well, if you have depth, the odds are, you really reduce the odds that there aren't at least 3 defensive linemen in any given moment ready to wreak havoc, right?
Right.
I mean, it's
I
kind of like
think it's just like, we had Billy Ratliff on and Jeff Coleman had to come out of the game because he was cramping up. And Caleb, what happened? Billy Ratliff came out there, was fresh and ready to go. So let's say player X, I don't want to call anybody out, isn't playing his correct gap assignments. They're going to see that and he's going to be on the bench and there's not going to be a significant drop off to the next player.
right. So someone's bound to do it. It's kind of like shooters in basketball, right? Yeah, if your shooters have an off day, you may lose. But if you have like 12 shooters, someone's bound to be hitting, right?
Agreed. My next reason why Tennessee will not be upset by Arkansas, brought to you by Medicare Misty, licensed in over 40 states. She can help you. MedicareMisty.com.
19 years this year. I've been in the community since 1993. You're getting a lot of information. Unlike when you were working, they made the choice for you. Now you have to make the choice. Come to us and let us help you make it easy. Call Medicare Misty, MedicareMisty.com or 423-777-5577. Let us help them sleep at night.
And we call her Medicare Misty.
Tennessee center Cooper Mays here. Third down.
Arkansas's 14th against the pass in the SEC. They allow 226 yards per game. The Vols will top that number, and I don't think there's any question about it. I think this is the first time that Nico Iamaleava, and by the way, Sam Pittman can't say that. We're going to make fun of him here in a little bit for that. You would think he'd have that down. But I think this is the game against a marquee opponent, which is an SEC opponent, or I would consider Iowa because of the bowl game somewhat of a marquee opponent. But there was a lot of checkdowns in that game. I think against a good opponent, this is the game where Nico lets it fly and Tennessee sets him up for success in the air. And I think you'll see several players in Tennessee's receiving core have big games, but I'll go ahead and say Dante Thornton will be the Vols' biggest impact player receiver. But the biggest impact player overall, I believe this week will be Nico Iamaleava.
I was off by one game. This is when we start talking about Nico Iamaleava as a true Heisman contender. And by the way, Dave, the schedule really sets up. I don't want to look ahead, but Arkansas, you and I both think is going to light up Arkansas. You've seen how bad Florida's defense is. He could light up Florida's defense too. And that's 2 games in a row that he's lit up defenses just as Alabama comes to town and he has a chance for his big moment in 3 weeks. And so I think Nico is going off too. I think Heupel wants Nico to go off. I think Heupel would have preferred to have Nico go off at Oklahoma, but the tackle situation wasn't going to allow it. They should be healthy and ready to go now. So
great lead in.
All SEC center Cooper Mays here.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
The Vols' offensive line, the offensive tackles, I think will be healthy. Now, John Campbell Jr. might not make it through the game because he has that bursa sack issue that continues to flare up on him. But you got to think Lance Hurd's going to be ready to go with the ankle. You've got to think that John Campbell Jr.'s going to be ready to go and could make it through the game. We'll just see how that shakes out. But I don't hate Larry Johnson. And I think Larry Johnson III, as a matter of fact, Larry Johnson doesn't scare me in pass pro, which is another reason I think Tennessee will be able to throw the football. I don't think he's fantastic in the run game. So I think this, again, goes back to my original point or previous point, Nico's set up for success.
Yeah, and also, who cares if the tackles aren't good in the run game in this offense? I mean, I'm just going to say it, guys. Run blocking so overrated for the tackles in this offense. That all comes down to the center and the guards. Period. End of story. It's so irrelevant. Yeah, it's a vertical rushing attack. And so if Larry Johnson is just solid on that side, that's not even Nico's blind side, then I think he should be totally fine. And you're right, with Lance Hurd back, Tennessee should be able to go off. Now, my question to you, Dave, and I wanted to ask you this real quick. Do you think the coaches know, because of Larry Johnson now showing he's at least solid, that they decide, hey, we can lock in Dane Davis on one side here and have him work just that side in case there's an injury now?
I think that given the Lance Hurd situation, even he wasn't healthy by his own choice. He didn't play, or by Tennessee's choice, whatever the case may be. And part of that's Josh Heupel likes to say that guys are going to be ready when oftentimes they aren't. There's a lot of gamesmanship there. Caleb, I believe that if they put Dane Davis at one spot, which I see what you're saying, but I don't believe they can, because he's a backup at least 4, if not 5 positions. I think he could be fine. I think he could be as good as Lance Hurd right now. I have no reason to believe Lance Hurd's a superstar at tackle, guys. I think he's a big body right now. And yeah, if Davis could focus on one position, you talk about taking one for the team. Davis has taken one for the team, because if he didn't, then he'd gripe about not playing one position, excelling. But I think he could be a B player if he focused on one position. I'm not saying he's ever an A+ player, but I think he could be really good. So maybe they take that approach. I don't know. The way they flop their tackles has always been odd to me.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to me too. I understand doing it at the beginning of the year. I don't understand doing it in the middle of the year. I think it's caused some issues, but I think maybe they were doing it because they weren't sure of Larry Johnson. I think maybe because Larry Johnson showed that he can be solid, serviceable. I think maybe they're more willing to do that now.